Hey guys, this is Melody, and today we're going to be making a customized gouache palette. You may have seen a video that I did a while ago, which was pretty early on in my channel, where I did attempt to use gouache once, but it was the Reeves gouache, and I had a lot of problems trying to use it because it was so chalky. And I did get a comment on that video saying that if I were to try a higher quality gouache, something that was maybe a little more pricey but more worth the money, that I wouldn't necessarily have that problem. So today we are trying Holbein gouache, which is not cheap at all. I don't remember how much I paid, but I think it was about $35 or so per tube. The white was cheaper, but still $35 for paint for one little tube is pricey. However, one tube of paint will go quite a ways, considering that these are water soluble. You can use them in a similar way as you would use watercolors if you're able to dry them on a pan, or you can use them wet. However, they can be more opaque, so you can layer them on like watercolors. So it's almost like between watercolors and acrylic. I did not get the acrylic gouache, which would mean that well, I don't know 100% exactly everything, but for the acrylic gouache, what I've heard is that it's not as water activated, so once it's on the paper, it's harder to activate once again to re-wet it and lift it, and it's easier for putting layers down, so it's easier to paint another color on top of it. I got the more, I'm sure there's a word for it, but watercolory gouache, where water can reactivate it once it's down on the page, and you can get a pretty clear wash if you water it down a lot. All that to say, I still really don't know all that much about gouache. I'm still pretty new to this, but I did want to try a nicer brand because I see everybody online on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and everywhere going on and on about how awesome gouache is, but the one experience that I had had previously was not great. So I decided to splurge when I went to Blake's. I do have a video with a haul on there, and that's when I bought all these paints, and I am finally breaking them out. I bought these in September, and it's now October. It's been about a month since I've had them and just not had time to use them. So what I showed you earlier in this video was a little bottle of gum arabic solution. I was told that you can mix this with the gouache to help keep it from cracking. If you add a lot, it'll also make it a little bit shinier and make it easier to get more see-through washes and keep it from being as opaque. It's been a week or so since I panned this gouache, and it is cracking. I've seen some other people's pictures where it cracked worse. The thing is, I couldn't find anything online about how much I should be adding of this or what exactly I'm supposed to be adding. I've heard also adding honey, or I think glycerin can work as well. Basically, you want to keep it from completely drying out. If it dries out completely, then it starts cracking, but if it has a binder or something to keep it slightly moist, then it won't crack. Or at least I believe that's the logic behind this. So don't necessarily do what I did, because clearly it didn't work completely. They're in the pan still, so because they are water soluble, I can kind of crush them down or add water and then add glycerin or honey or whatever I want to try next to try to repan them. It's kind of something that I would like to experiment, and if I ever get to the point where I find a really good solution, I'll definitely make a video and let you guys know what I found. If you are curious what I did, I basically just spurted out a little tube of paint and did 3 to 4 drops or so on each one and mixed them up. Some of them, with the same amount of the gum arabic solution, seem to be more watered down, I guess, than others, so I'm not sure if some of the consistency of the paint, some of them are just naturally thicker than others, so I don't know if that's something to also take into consideration. Because these paints were so expensive, I didn't buy very many colors. I got a red, yellow, blue, black, and white. However, the red that I got is almost more of an orangey red, so at some point I'll probably buy a different red, because if I ever want to do pinks or something, that's not really possible with this red. And because I had such a limited color palette, I did want to play around with trying to mix some colors. As you notice, I didn't mix a very wide variety of colors. I have a green and then pretty much a bunch of browns and orangey reds. And that's because I knew that I wanted to paint something kind of fall color, and I've been enjoying seeing this palette around. So what I did then, of course, is swatches. So I did side-by-side swatches of the paint right out of the tube and then the paint mixed with the gum arabic because I wanted to see if it made any difference. The only difference that I could find is that it wasn't quite as opaque, but I was also dipping it in water, so I'm not sure if that affected it. Either way, the paints looked pretty similar except the blue, and the only reason the blue doesn't look correct is that I still had some of the yellow or something on the brush, so it kind of mixed together and turned it a color that it wasn't quite. So my gum arabic wash on the swatches is more true to the actual color of the paint. Initially, I didn't really know what I wanted to paint, but for some reason I thought I was gonna have an orange sky. So I just kind of went in and blocked in with this like burnt orange color. Honestly, I love this color. I'm really glad I mixed it. And then I decided to do a search and try to find a reference photo because I didn't know what to draw. I kind of knew I wanted to have something with like a road and trees, and I went on Pexels. If you've not heard of it before, it's a really great website to find royalty-free images. Using images and reference photos and stuff is a big thing in art, but if you're gonna do anything and you're gonna share it or make profit off of it, always try to find something that's royalty free. Don't use photographers' work that you just randomly find on Pinterest or whatever. If you do, always cite it. If you post it on Instagram, say who the photographer was. They're the ones who went and modeled this picture and found the good angle, etc. So just always be sure to give credit where it's due. Anyway, with that said, I typically go to Pexels to find royalty-free images because it is a free website. You don't have to pay for anything, so it's really nice. You can just go and browse and search for things the same way you would on Google, and the photos there are really high quality, so I definitely recommend going and checking them out if you want. I think for this, I put like fall trees or something, and this photo came up. So my impressions of this paint. I was wary going in because, again, I did not have a great experience the first time I attempted to use gouache, but honestly I was really impressed. Not only can you get nice washes and you can make them as opaque or as clear as you want by just adding more water. The paints aren't chalky. They do dry matte, but there's a difference between being chalky and matte. There's kind of a fine line. Kind of like when you used that like chest suitcase thing as a kid that came with the markers and the pencils and stuff and the watercolors. That paint is basically just chalk. I recently tried to use it with my little sister and it was a nightmare. For kids, obviously, it's fine. Some people can make some art out of that, but I could not. I also appreciated how smooth these were and how well they mixed. I've had trouble in the past mixing paints where they started getting really muddy. The paints just didn't mix well, but these honestly were just really nice. If you have the money, definitely give them a try. If not, there's other ones out there. I'm sure you could probably find people on YouTube who have tested more affordable ones that are just as good. Reeves are okay. They're just, know that they tend to be a little bit on the chalky side. While you can layer these paints pretty well, I would still say just be aware that you might have to do a few layers to get it completely opaque, especially with doing these yellow lines or like orangey lines over the black road. I did have to do a few layers there just because the black was showing through. And even when I was doing the black gray road, because the paints are activated by water, if I had water on my brush, it started stirring up the orange that was under it, and so it was kind of bringing that back into the surface of the gray. So just be aware. They do still sort of work like watercolors, but honestly, trying to layer stuff on top was not too bad. You just might want to avoid using too much water. Obviously, this painting isn't perfect, especially considering this is the first time that I've attempted to use this paint before, but I really do enjoy how it turned out. I enjoyed using these paints, and I will definitely be using them again in the future. I hope to do some more fall pieces like that. I don't know that I've mentioned anything on my channel, but I will be at a Christmas bazaar in November selling some art, so I'm hoping I can use some of this gouache to create some pieces for that. Either things that I can scan and print or selling some small originals. That will be in Bothell, I believe, Bothell, Washington. There will be more information coming on my Facebook page probably, and potentially my Twitter and Instagram. So go check out my other social media. And that's pretty much about it for this video after I add a few more leaves. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe, let me know what your favorite brand of gouache is, and I'll see you guys in the next video.